Greetings. My name is Mahialani Uchiyama. I'm the director of the Center for International Dance. Welcome to our first episode of Dare, Conversations in the Diaspora. Dare is a production of the African American Mbira Project, an initiative to perpetuate the music and tradition of the Mbira within the African American community of the U.S. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that I reside in the Bay Area, a land contemporarily known as Ohlone territory. There are 8 language dialects and many active tribal groups. With Dare, we aspire to explore the music of Zimbabwe and other performance traditions which exist in the diaspora. Our conversations with artists will focus on their art form and their personal journey. Additionally, you will have a chance to ask questions of our guests. Sheree Seretse is the longest serving of
Good day. Thank you for the welcome. And it's nice to be here as a part of Diary. And I look forward to talking.
Awesome. I have to say, the very first time I saw you in performance was at a ZimFest back in 2003, and it just blew me. Had never seen anything like Anzanga marimba ensemble before. It was just amazing. So I'm so delighted to have you here and to enter into a conversation and learn a little bit more about you and your work. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So could you tell us a little bit, excuse me, about how you became interested in Zimbabwean music and what the scene was like in those days when you first began?
Well, I started out at University of Washington, and my counselor was helping me select my classes for my first quarter. And she said, well, you need an elective, and why don't you take this African dance class? And so the African dance class was taught by Dr. Dumisani Maraire, and I was enthralled. And little did I know that there was a bigger world of Zimbabwean music and culture surrounding that opportunity to take that class. That actually changed the whole course of my direction in terms of my studies at the university. I started out wanting to be an occupational therapist and went into ethnomusicology and African American studies instead.
So it's amazing to me sometimes these little things that you don't know are happening to you when they happen, like, you zig instead of zag.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. That class you took with Dr. Maraire had such an influence on you and on a lot of people. I talk to people all the time who came from the University of Washington in that era, who had the privilege of studying with him, and it was life-changing for a lot of people.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah.
What was the scene like in those days? I mean, when you started studying with him, was there anything like that going on in the area?
Not at all. He had been fortunate to be at the university for 2 years when I came, and what he did was create a real magic. I mean, you were just totally enthralled. Each Tuesday night, he would have all his classes come together and share with the students. At the end of each quarter, we had a visitors' night where we could share our experiences with the community at large. And it was really, really, it's just something that really grew to be a really well-known event. We had to get some of the largest halls at the university to accommodate all the people who came to those events.
It must have been really special to study with someone as legendary as Dr. Maraire. I really wish I had that opportunity to have met him. And this was at the University of Washington, yes?
That is correct. That is correct. I started out as a student, and he did, like a year and a half later, open a studio in the community, and he invited me to come teach his beginning level classes. And so, and then there was also an opportunity where they had the American Society for Eastern Arts at the University of Washington in 1973, and I got a chance to teach along with him at that time. He also had a performance ensemble, marimba ensemble called Mananziwan, in which I performed in that ensemble. And then also in 1973, we started our first Mbira ensemble. It was an all-women's ensemble called Gwenyai. And so it was kind of fully immersed in the Zimbabwean music experience.
So you went from that experience to essentially creating and directing and conducting your own marimba ensembles. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. In 1975, I left Mananziwan and kind of focused on being in Gwenyai. And in 1978, I was hired at the Langston Hughes Cultural Arts Center to bring some of those cultural experiences that I've had. And so I began to offer classes at Langston Hughes Cultural Arts Center. And in 1980, we developed the Langston Hughes Marimba Ensemble. The Langston Hughes Marimba Ensemble evolved to be the Laura and the Sukhothai Marimba Ensemble. And then in 1986, I kind of retired from that one, but decided that I was not finished with the music. And so at the end of 86, I started my own ensemble, the Anzanga Marimba Ensemble. And then from there, over time, I have developed a few other ensembles, 3 children's ensemble and an additional African, people of African descent ensemble called Zambuko.
So 3 children's ensembles. Wow. Okay. So, and are you still doing all of those different ensembles, or were they, activities that you took on and then moved to the next one, or are they still going?
Well, the first children's ensemble, Shumba, they grew up and they went off to see the world, and so I don't have them anymore. And Simba also, they also grew up, and
They do that.
yeah, and so we in that clip that you showed, we did come back together to do that performance, and then Mozzie is the little kids, and because of the pandemic, we kind of got sidetracked, but hope to come back together at some point.
The thing that's so, I think, impressive and universal about the marimba, that is really clear about it, is the fact that it's such a group activity. It's like you can't just play marimba. I mean, you could by yourself, but it really becomes magic and coherent with the activity involvement of many people, not just one or two.
That is true, and the polyphonic and polyrhythmic relationships of the marimba is really what makes the music what it is.
And Anzanga, you toured with that one, yeah? I mean, I was really privileged to see you at Ashkenaz in Berkeley, and another time that you came for an event that I was producing. So, I mean, Anzanga travels quite a bit, or does when we're not in lockdown.
Yes, we had the good fortune to go to China, and we've been to South Africa, and so yeah, it's been really good. And the other group that you saw on the video, we went to Costa Rica, and so we try to get out and about too.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like bringing marimba to South Africa? I'm just curious what was that like for your musicians and for you, and how were you received?
You know, outside of Zimbabwe, South Africa is kind of the hub of marimba, and so I think it was just more seeing that people outside of the continent are actually playing marimba as much as it is in South Africa. So didn't feel like it was really bringing something new. In fact, we performed at the marimba and steel pan festival, which we won in the small group category.
Neat. That sounds like a fun festival to have been at.
Yeah.
Marimba and steel pan. Mm-hmm. You've also created some Mbira ensembles too. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, in 1973, we were invited to play at a women's festival at Evergreen State College here in Washington. And I have been working alongside Laura Chirora, who's from Zimbabwe. We were teaching classes for college teachers, and decided that we would pull together a women's group to perform at this festival at Evergreen. And so Laura, of course, native to Zimbabwe, taught all the singing and the words, and I did all the instrumental arrangements on the Mbira and taught the group their parts and that kind of stuff.
Nice. Wow. So, you know, African music and dance in general has a huge presence in the diaspora. And I mean, you've told us a little bit about your general experience of teaching marimba and mbira, but can you give us a little more insight about how it feels to take part of these traditions here in the diaspora as an African American exploring those traditions here?
I think the biggest challenge for me is not for me, but just historically through time, is getting people of African descent to embrace the music and dance. And there's a lot of political reasons behind that. But it was nice to be able to express dance with community, and I wish that, you know, more people would have taken part. But there were some African dance ensembles, especially Lord Shore, was able to really reach to the young people and develop a really large youth African dance group. And I had definitely a number of participants in the classes that I taught who were people of African descent. What took a bigger stronghold is probably in the last decade is the West African dance form.
Yeah, I think in general, the West African forms and the Congolese forms are very, very popular. I suspect it's because many of us have our, direct ancestry to those parts of the continent, and they are, popular with a wide range of people, which I think is a really beautiful thing too. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting that the Southern African forms are not quite as ubiquitous in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how you might have been able to utilize the music, the Zimbabwean music to educate people beyond the form, like in matters of social justice and matters of inclusion.
Sure. Prior to Zimbabwe getting its independence in 1980, at least around here, and I know pretty much around the country, but here in particular, we use music as a platform to educate people about the injustices in Zimbabwe. We had performed at events that were finding ways to support change in Zimbabwe. We were played at protests that for businesses that were supporting investments in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And so we were able to use a performance platform to really educate people more about Zimbabwe when they didn't really know about Zimbabwe and the culture that of the people and the culture of Zimbabwe. After 1980, when Zimbabwe gave its independence, we still use that kind of platform to educate about the changes that independence brought. And, we did assemblies at schools or churches. I mean, the numerous outlets for sharing information. We definitely use that platform.
Yeah, you've been on my periphery for so long. I've just been aware of the kind of things you've been doing and the teaching and the music, the directing, the tour. It just on my periphery, and which makes it all the more exciting for me to make this connection with you now. I want to mention for any of our viewers, if you have any questions for Sheree, to please you can put them down in the Facebook chat, and we'll pick it up and forward it along. But I'm wondering if you would be willing to share a song with us, please.
Sure.
And tell us about what you're going to play and all of that kind of stuff.
All right. So I'm choosing to share a song on this instrument, which is from Zimbabwe, and it is referred to people as karimba, but it's more known now as yunga yunga. It has 15 keys, and it's played with your two thumbs and your index finger. The bottle caps on the instrument serve as kind of they rattle when you strike the keys, and the case serves to amplify the sound of the instrument. In Zimbabwe, if there was an instrument that could really serve as a symbol of the country, it would be the Mbira. There are over 8 different types of Mbira, ranging from 8 keys to over 64 keys. And all these instruments utilize your your thumbs and index finger. And the Mbira is used for multiple contexts for social events, recreational events, and at times for very spiritual and sacred events. And so the song on the Yunga Yunga is a song by Dr. Maraire, and it's called Misorotsi. And Misorotsi means tears. And I feel like around the globe, we are all shedding a lot of tears, and sometimes tears of joy, and sometimes they are tears of happiness. But I hope that through all our tears that we will all reach a state of joy. All right, here we go.
That was so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Wow. And there are bound to be people who are seeing and hearing this, who might be their first encounter with this music, and it's so important, and it was so beautifully shared what it is that you were doing, and thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you.
So we have an audience question from someone who is identifies himself or herself as being the joining from the eastern highlands of Zimbabwe, Mutare near Chakokwa, where Dr. Dumisani Maraire's homestead is. And the question is, the statement, Lino Piloto, yes, the statement is, I'm so moved spiritually by your history about this marimba and Mbira journey. My question is, how did you manage to have this kind of energy to lead your marimba ensemble?
That's a hard question to really answer. I think it's just one of the gifts that the music really gives you is passion. Believe it or not, I was really, really a shy person once upon a time. And I was really a really scared person when I went to the university. And so this music really brought out a lot of confidence, a lot of discipline, a lot of energy and expression. And, you know, Dr. Maraire, playing with Dr. Maraire, he emanated that. He played with that passion. He played with that energy. He had that charisma. He had, you know, he had the drive. And he definitely instilled that in his students. You know, it's like, don't play around. You know, it's like, put yourself 100% or go home kind of message. And so, yeah, I was kind of lucky to follow in those footsteps.
Amazing. Thank you. We have another question from Candy Sparks. Do you give private lessons to young and old alike?
I do. Well, first of all, I teach at 2 elementary schools right now at present. And they are K-5, kindergarten through 5th grade schools. And actually one of the schools also has a middle school. But I also teach lessons in the community for children age 6 and older. And so, yes, I do. And age has no limits. It's just a number.
Awesome. Yeah, age, that's absolutely right. And I'm believing that more and more as I'm gaining more numbers.
Are we all?
Yes. Wow. So, yeah, thank you so much. We don't seem to have, let me just double check here. Oh, wait, there's one more audience question from Ava Square. And forgive me, Ava Levias. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And her question is, what is the proper way to hold Mbira, and how can we get some of your CDs and DVDs?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, first of all, it depends which Mbira that you are talking about. I happen to have another instrument here. It is referred to as Mbira Zabadzimu or Mbira Huru or Nare. This instrument has a real long history. It ranges from 22 keys to about 29. And normally, this instrument is played inside what we call a deze. And generally, on this instrument, as opposed to the one I played, there's a finger hole that your little finger goes in. And so on this instrument, your thumb plays the first 3 notes, and your index finger plays the notes from underneath, going up the register. Your left thumb plays both what we call manuals, or both rows. And so you have to find a position that is comfortable for you. But I would say generally the middle finger to your little finger has the control of holding, but it should be kind of enough of a control where you don't lose the instrument, but you don't want to grip too tightly so that you can't maneuver your other fingers. Your index finger on the left is kind of on the side so that you can extend your reach with your thumbs and underneath. So that's that particular instrument. For this one that I did play, this is placed also inside of a different deze, but it has a raised platform, so it allows me to hold the same, in essence, the same way. So that answers that particular question about how to hold it in particular. And it is really individual, depending on, the size of your hands, or your comfort level, or the position that you're playing the instrument when you're playing it. All those things come into, play. As for the other questions, you can always order your CDs through me or cdbaby.com. And believe it or not, I have not made any DVDs. So I hope that answers that.
So you can find Anzanga CDs on CD Baby.
Yes, you can. At least a couple of them.
Awesome. I have a couple of them, and they are amazing. Like if you're, particularly these days when sometimes it's hard to get energy to do anything, you put on one of those CDs, and you will have the energy to do what you need to do in your day. I guarantee you that. So definitely consider getting a CD. And there's another question from Lino Piloto. How were you received by the community as a woman playing the Mbira or marimba?
In this country, there were no challenges in that regard, but parallel to what was going on in Zimbabwe, there were relatively few women known playing Mbira in the 70s, per se, and some were met with resistance. At the very same time, I guess one colleague of mine who started out at school with me, who went another direction, Erica Adzim, went to Zimbabwe early on, and so we didn't share. We started out the same path, but we went in a different direction. She received, surprise and praise for just how astute she was in playing the music of Zimbabwe, in Zimbabwe and beyond, and still is playing today. I feel I have been well embraced by the indigenous Zimbabweans. Often just say, "Oh, you make me feel like I'm back home," or you really take me in a place, or I see you playing this and I should be playing this. I get lots of comments in that direction, and so I think playing with Dr. Maraire, I think that he opened the door without biases and prejudices, and so I guess in one sense it kind of paved the way. And parallel in Zimbabwe, it was becoming more and more known and more respected for women computer players, and now it's not even a question anymore. And so that's it's great to be a part of that thread that was developing as I was studying.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sheree, for participating in the very first Dare Conversations in the Diaspora.
No, thank you. Would you like me to close out with another song or something?
Oh, that would be the best. Thank you. Yes. And before you do that, oh, that would be just amazing. Thank you. I also want to thank all of our viewers who are joining us today, and to those who submitted questions. I want to mention that Dare Conversations in the Diaspora is a program of the Mahea Uchiyama Center for International Dance, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to fostering cross-cultural understanding in our community through dance and music. And we'd like to encourage any of you to consider a donation to our nonprofit following the link on your screen there. We will be back next month on Saturday, October 3rd at 2 p.m. with Wamkanganise Nagadza, and Mbira player, maker, teacher, and singer from Harare, Zimbabwe. Until then, be well, stay safe, and keep the music in your heart.
All right. The song I'm going to play this time is called Perekedza, which is a kind of a song of celebration. And so hopefully it'll get you up and dancing and moving and clapping or singing. Please feel free.